Good evening and welcome to a Tuesday night show of the Magpie Circle podcast. Tuesday night, not Monday, because Notts were doing the business on the pitch at Cheltenham. Martin Paterson's Black and White Army. We're now in the automatics top three positions. Amazing how we judge everyone from game to game, isn't it? Two defeats in the cup, and woe is us. But after last night and the eclipsing of Steve Cottrell, I'm seeing a lot of talk on the message boards tonight about automatic promotion come the end of the season. Small matter of 31 more games to go, but fantastic response produced by the players and by Martin Paterson after those two FA Cup defeats. Great opening 45 minutes. Many of you describing it as just about the best 45 seen this season. Not as good second half, but you can't get any more than 3 points from a game, can you? And that's what we've ended up with. Two home games coming up now. It's Harrogate on Saturday, followed by Colchester. Get 4 or 6 points out of those two, sitting pretty probably in the top three. But let us not all get too carried away just yet. All this, of course, done without Matty Palmer, sidelined again. No Jody Jones either. There will be no Jacob Bedo on Saturday. He got his 5th yellow, so will now serve a 1-match suspension. We'll pick up the message boards in a moment, but Stell, safely back from Cheltenham. Were you surprised at all by last night or not?
Not surprised, no, pleasantly pleased, but I thought it was, like I say, like everyone said, I thought it was an excellent first half performance. Probably, a really good 90 minutes as well, really, for different reasons. First off, I thought we were fluent, dangerous, purposeful with the ball. And without the ball, I thought we worked our socks off. Absolutely didn't give them a second anywhere on the pitch. And I know people can say they were 22nd in the table, they're not a great team, blah, 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 which, okay, that's factually correct. But they'd picked up 10 points out of 12 since Steve Cottrell had gone in. They'd beat Bradford in the FA Cup while we were getting knocked out to Brackley the week before. So they would have been in confident mood. They would have been fancying their chances, but we didn't give them a kick. First half, we absolutely all over them. And 2-0 didn't flatter us. If it had been 3 or 4 at half time, nobody would have complained. We heard comments at half time saying that it was the best performance that the Cheltenham fans had seen down there for a number of years, not just in the season, for a number of years. That's how impressive we were first half. And such is the way with football, you very rarely get two halves where you're totally dominant for a whole game. And so it proved. Cheltenham, changed their formation, went to a back three, moved things around tactically, and their players performed in the second half and asked more questions. But I thought, even though they got the goal back, and I still think it's a foul on Lewis McCarry, two-handed push in the back. Even though they got the goal back, I thought, although yes, it was more nervy, it was more even in the second half, I never really felt like they were going to get anything out of the game. And if they had done, it would have been absolute daylight robbery. But that provides the nervousness in itself. And I thought, even despite that, we didn't play the same fluent, flowing football as we did in the first half, but it wasn't backs to the wall, sort of just hanging on for dear life. I thought we managed the game pretty well, saw it out fairly comfortably. Kelleroos, I think he only had one save to make, low down to his right. I thought we were good value, and 2-1 doesn't really reflect the story of the game, does it? But really good to come away with all 3 points. Anything less than all 3 points last night would have felt like we've been really hard done to.
Excellent opening synopsis, Stell. Let's dive onto the message boards. Spotter's badge goes to Paul Mantle tonight. He was on at 5:01. There you go. So after two of the worst performances of the season, we get one of the best this season, says Paul. Royston, evening all. Well, that win is just what the doctor ordered, but we still can't put two good halves together. Not easily pleased is Royston. Nick Hogg. Pato is more or less using the team from last season minus the three best players. shows how much, for me, the previous head coach underachieved. Give Pato a quality keeper and 2 more quality additions in January, and we should go up. He also adds Robbo, as in Scott Robertson, was outstanding yesterday, man of the match for me. Ian Cooksey show regular. After a great result last night, let's now see the mindset of the players with 2 home games coming up. Win those and get something at Bristol Rovers. It sets us up nicely for December, January. There you go. That's the rest of November's results sorted in. We're already looking at December. Dimitri, evening from Dimitri. As the Montenegrin Magpie branch predicted, it was 3 points on Monday. Now we go for 6 more points at home. You need to get yourself over to Nottingham again, Dimitri. Give us a cheer. What a fantastic first half, says David Rayner. I don't think Stell could believe it. Let's have some more like it, Knots, from a Meadows Pie. Nottingham Thistle, delighted my fears about Steve Cottrell's Cheltenham were unfounded. 3 points out of the next 3 games, please. Oh, that all? Oh, all right. Does he mean 3 for each of the next 3 games before we play the big boys in December? Gary Pearce, well done, lads. Back to the county we have seen for the past year or so. In the first half, anyway, still lacking in the final third for me, but a respectable and acceptable performance. Another one who is not necessarily too easily pleased. We lost it a little, goes on Gary, in the second half, but fought all the way. Doesn't cancel out what happened over the previous 2 cup games, but you can at least hold your heads up high. There's still a way to go, he adds finally, and the next 4 or 5 games will say a lot about our season and how it is likely to go. Lippy Jane, Lippy says the ground was very small last night. I think the chasing down everything in the first half was brilliant, perhaps not quite so much in the second half. We ran out of some steam at times. Gary Pearce, one more. I felt let down by Steve Cottrell when he left us. I like him as a manager, but his rant about the ref at the end of the game being on our side let him down a little. Maybe he will reflect when he's seen the game again. Definite foul on Macari for the goal. Richard Elvin wasn't expecting the performance or outcome last night. Things are looking up and squad showing its depth. Dare I mention the January window and Jatta. Adam Kent, I was going to mention this, but well spotted, Adam. Shout out to Stell, who completed your pre-assist challenge in his radio commentaries. Mentioned it in the game against Manchester United. Last night's pre-assisters were Jatta to Cerula to Hall and Bennett's from the corner. There we go. Adam Kent. Sadly, I have rewatched all the matches for the season and worked out various stats. Jamie T 1862. We're starting to see the value in having an ex-striker as head coach. Jatta is improving week after week in key areas. His finishing, passing, hold-up play and defending have all come on significantly. Colin Metcalf, great team performance yesterday. Showed all aspects of what's needed. First half attacking got us in front. Second half defence kept us in the lead. I really hope Pato gets the backing that he deserves in January. Jamie goes on, we just need Martin to now work his magic with Traore. Perhaps a little more difficult. Adam Kent, you like this, Stell?
No.
So he's rewatched all the matches. Oh dear. And he's worked out the total number of pre-assists table for Notts this season.
Go on.
Oh dear me. Top of the pre-assists table is Alessandro Jatta with 5, followed by with Iapenda with 4, Cotter and Hall with 3, Jones and Cerula 2, Palmer, Gordon, Kuyar, Beddoe, Grant, Norburn and Bennett's all 1 apiece. What do you think of that, then, Stell? The not scouting pre-assists
Was it
entertainment.
Adam? Was it Adam, the guy? Well, I think he deserves a medal for having to rewatch the games just to count up the pre-assists. Just as he got the stats for the pre-assists and things like that, we may as well bring that in. It's only a matter of time before that comes in, isn't it? So, and one thing I want to question: does Iopenda get an assist for that first goal last night, where the corner just basically hit him and drops down for Jatta? Because if that's an assist these days, I would love to be recategorised. Like I say, I could have been half a decent player in back in the day when the ball bounces off you to somebody and they put it in. That's great, that is. But yeah, I mean, yeah. All joking aside, he's done well. If he's rewatched all the games for the start of the season for the pre-assists, wow,
Oh
that is
God.
some dedication.
I'm just going to come with a few more comments because with it being 24 hours after a game, we have got tons of them. And I've so far still got as far as people have posted messages by 6:47. So you can tell you, people wade in early and give their comments. Jürgen Halligan. Jürgen, fantastic performance last night. Well worth a late night. Robbo was immense. Robert Minister, who always says it's good morning, Stel, because he's in Australia. A day late, but not $1 short. The best half of football by Notts this season. The quickness in moving the ball was brilliant, but it was the work off the ball that was most impressive. Gary Pearce, I agree, Robertson was the heart of the team. Why doesn't he shoot more? Already scored some great goals outside the box. We all seem to want to walk it in. Adam Kent, so Jatta stands at 7 goals, 1 assist as per Notts website, and 5 pre-assists. Hey, if his agent or Jatta watch this, they'll be trying to work that into his transfer value or something.
Hey, the agent will know them sort of stats. Don't you worry about that. Yeah, nowadays, crikey me, that is the first and foremost things they go armed with, isn't it? Stats like that.
Yeah, Jürgen Halligan really thought we would miss Palmer, but we didn't. Bit worried about Bedo being suspended for the next game. Gary Pearce, Robbo looks a bit nervous at the thought of shooting to me. Well, to be fair, his first shot wasn't great, was it? Was that sort of volley that went like about 25 yards wide, but gets in good positions in the centre of the field. Evening from Karen Knight, Luke Beardsley, amazing win. That's how you turn it round after a bad cup exit. Luke goes on, I can relate to Adam Kent and pre-assists. Always been a big thing in ice hockey. Has it really? Okay. But never really been recognised in football, but can be very important. Greza Maxwell, fresh from putting flaws in somewhere or other. When the stars align, the backbone, the spine of the team, everyone was faultless last night. Apart from Jacob's booking that takes him out for a game. Pythagorean, yeah, he's using his various cliche-ridden puns. Cheltenham weren't at the races in the first half. Very good, Pythagorean. What a night, says Tim Watchorn. Tea and chat with Stell on the motorway. Did you get nobbled on the motorway, Stel, by a member of the flock?
So we saw fans before and after. So yeah, speaking to some on the way down, we got down there, me and Adam, and we had a bit of food and a drink before. So chatting to some fellas at the services before the game, and then on the way back we stopped, and there were more Notts fans in there. So yeah, a good day. It's going to be an home then. If we went away from home, we're going to have to arrange to meet up before every away game.
Richard Elvian goes Platt in for Bedo Saturday. We seem to be hot. We seem to able to hold it together so far with our defenders, in the sense that as one drops out, there's another at the ready to step up. Jurgen wonders if Platt comes in on Saturday. Looked a little rusty against Man U. Evening from Ian Hayward and from Kay. Up to third and in a positive frame of mind. Kay says we could be top come Saturday. Dave Badder, excellent performance and result. Now need to back that up in the next 2 home games. Greza Maxwell, I know I'm Keller's biggest critic, but he made some decent stops last night. Richard Elvian, Cottrell changed his tactics at half time. Let's hope others don't cotton on to matching us. and going man for man. Gaza Lee, Fraser Forster. Is he on a? I didn't realise he was not. Didn't have a club at the minute. Charlie Capewell, wonder who starts instead of Bordeaux on Saturday, Platt or El Joffrey. Andy Easom, bit of a blow to be without Jacob through suspension on Saturday. Defence is going to have to reshuffle. Adi Clark, evening Adi. Brilliant match to watch. Amazing first half, then a resilient second half. Robbo is a Notts captain in the making, would run through a brick wall for Notts. Evening from Stephen Newton, Dale Pikett. Cots should have been more gracious in defeat than blaming the ref and Notts players for his team performance. Evening from Ray Newton, and I'll park it there. Still loads more to get through. But still, I tell you what, one of my key observations, and I thought one of the things doesn't necessarily jump out at you, but I think it's pretty critical, and one of the things that we should give Martin Paterson a lot of credit for. We spoke a lot last season. Balls coming into boxes. How many first balls did we win? We seldom won first balls. They bounced around. The opposition got ahead or whatever. Yet I thought last night Ness was immense. Virtually every long ball that came in, set piece, he headed it. And I thought also, he obviously scored the goal, but I thought Jatta did a brilliant job defensively at set pieces, corners. And it must, vast majority of first balls were won by either Jatta or Ness from everything that was pumped in. And for me, I've not got the stats, but I don't need to see the stats, as Martin Patterson would say. We look aerially much more combative, competent. That, like you said, they didn't, they didn't necessarily lay siege to the goal. I just thought we showed a defensive resilience and aerial capability that I've not really seen in us in our previous two seasons in the National League.
Yeah, I think I couldn't agree more, really, with what you've said. I think Lucas Ness, since he's come in, has been absolutely fantastic. Considering the amount of time he's spent out injured since he's been at Notts. And I think Alessandro Jatta as well. His defensive work. I mean, we all speak about his goals and his attacking play, but the job he does defensively as well doesn't get highlighted as much. And he's won a fantastic amount of first balls, first contacts. Again, it's a modern phrase, really, first contact, but it is so important. The stats will back it up. But also, I think got to give a mention Jacob Beddoe, skipper last night. Yes, we know we will need just to balance up that left hand side. It'll be an interesting selection for Martin on Saturday. But Lewis McCarry as well. They all play their part, and all the others as well, the midfield lads and the wing backs, the whole team really. But that I think there's some Jacob Beddoe's not one we speak about too much, but he is. If there's a more consistent defender in League Two, I've not seen him, and I'm not aware of him because he just goes under the radar, and just week after week he's like 7 and 8 out of 10. Jacob Beddoe, I think he's criminally underspoken about, which is a shame for him because he's really, really consistent. But yeah, I think that's one thing. And let's rewind. If we remember back to the first 3, 4, 5 games of the season, we did have that weakness. We were conceding goals aerially, balls into the box, set pieces, things like that. And we highlighted it and said, look, we've got to get better. We can't keep doing that. And this might be just players playing better, having that determination and will to win. But probably, more likely, they've worked their socks off at it. It's been highlighted. It's been picked up. The stats have shown it. Martin and the coaches have highlighted it. They've done something about it. They've looked to address it. And that's absolutely showing itself in the games, I think. We're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but in relative terms to being a League Two team and a League Two defence and a League Two set of players, I think you can see definite improvement, and that is credit to everybody, obviously the players, but I think the coaching staff take a lot of credit for that as well, because first 5 or 6 games, we highlighted it. Now we're saying how well we're defending the box, how many times we're getting that first contact. That's an improvement. That's exactly what you want to see from your team. You want to see improvement, areas of weakness, which there will always be. Are you addressing it? Are you doing something about it? And it hopefully goes to show to fans, if nothing else, that, do you know what? We don't just churn out a bad performance. We don't churn out these we have weaknesses and just go, well, let's hope it turns itself out right. Players and staff and everybody work their socks off from a Monday to a Friday that doesn't get seen by the fans, but hopefully the progress and the performance levels are seen in the 90 minutes on a Saturday or a Monday night as it was last night. And I think we are seeing that. I think we really are seeing progress from the first few games of this season to where we are, certainly last night. Of course, there's blips and drops along the way. Brackley, Man United in the trophy, they're recent ones. So it's never a straight line graph, is it? You'll always get upsets along the way. You'll get poor performances, but you've got to try and eradicate them, make them as few and far between as possible. And I think, like I say, the improvement is there for all to see.
Is this all, the greater resilience, focusing on aerial improvement? Is this, do you think, all part of when Martin's spoken about culture? Do you think this is all part and parcel of it?
Yeah, I think it is. I think, like everything, a coach and a manager, and I always intersperse them phrases. I know he's a head coach, but it's effectively his manager, isn't he? But
Yeah.
the culture is set by your manager, your head coach. They set that down via his staff as well. He gets them on board, so they're all singing off the same sheet, and they set out what is really important to them. Of course, everybody wants to play brilliant football, be ruthless, do this, do that, do every part, every facet of the game well. But there are always some fundamentals that are the absolute building blocks of what you're doing. And I think the credit that Martin and Andy Edwards and Sam Slocum can take, and Darren Smith will be part of now, but I think the credit that they can take is that since he's come in, Martin, he's spoken with absolute consistency about wanting to be hard to beat, wanting to win games, wanting to be the fittest team, wanting to close down, and wanting to continually improve. They've been his foundations, if you like, the non-negotiables as they call them nowadays. You've got a former defender, Andy Edwards, who, or defensive minded. Sam Slocum as a keeper. I think they obviously have bought into that as well and helped spread that message. And I think the one thing we can see about this team is they are grittier. There's more steel in it. They are harder to beat. I would say that they don't, even if they're not playing free flowing, fluid football all the time, they're in games. Aside from them first sort of 2-3 games, you know, they've been, well, they are the form team in the division pretty much, for the last 11, 12 games. So I think that comes from that message filtering through of like, what we're all about is winning games, yes, being hard to beat, doing everything we possibly can. You don't hear him talking too much about, oh, the possession stats say this. Oh, we did, so many box entries. We had, and I know stats can be used to paint a picture when things aren't going so well. But as we've always said, it's about winning games, getting points on the board. And that is the biggest compliment I think I can give them. Again, we've only 15 games into the season and there have been blips. So we're not talking now we've had a win that everything's great, we're the greatest team ever, but it is that thing of after 2 defeats and 2 bad defeats, one in the FA Cup, one in the EFL Trophy. Okay, that's not so important in the big scheme of things. But then to bounce back with a performance like last night, the first half playing the football and the work rate, and the second half could have been backs to the wall, but it still work rate. That the football wasn't quite as good. It wasn't horrific, but it's 2 different challenges within the same 90 minutes. And any time you win and take all 3 points on the road, that's not to be sniffed at. So I think last night was particularly impressive, and I think it highlights them facets that Martin has really hammered home as his key principles and basics to base a football team on and a culture on. That winning mentality, never saying die, never lying down, never say die, sort of never giving up, even if you're not playing well. We're in a game and you're still there. The game's there to win. And I think the players have took it on board and are improving as the season goes on.
Chris Gosling says Harrogate have lost 7 on the bounce, including Cup. They're bound to sit deep. Maybe a back four for us Saturday with Platt and Ness in the middle. Question mark. John Parr, evening, John. First half last night was the best performance of the season I've seen. 2-1 flattered Cheltenham massively. James says sometimes poor cup games can derail good league form. Sometimes it has no effect at all. Great response from the team means it looks like it has been the latter. Marcus Darwin enjoyed last night. Nice to see a bit of, well, I won't use his word, but professional gamesmanship is what I think you're kind of saying, Marcus. Raymond Haig, Nick Cerula is all left foot, but plays on the right wing. Don't think I will ever understand that. Even I've given the old inverted a bit of a rest, Raymond, for the time being. All right, you get results, you can do what you want. Andy Eason noticed that as the final whistle blew, instead of a genial handshake, there appeared to be some choice words aimed by Martin Paterson at Steve Cottrell. But in the aftermatch interviews, Adam, Andy, he was very complimentary about Steve. I think, as I'd said on this show the other week, Cots can be pretty intense at the best of times. Ian Haywood. Dennis needs to pick up his game for me now and force his way back into the starting 11. Paul Topley stated this on here previously. In the early part of the season, that Knott's passing was disjointed and slow. Players now getting used to each other, and we're seeing the fruit. Chris Gosling, I've got the XG stats for the pre-match warm-up shooting practice. If you're interested, you know what you can do with those, Chris, with the greatest of respect. Ian Cooksey, 20 games in league and cup, 15 in the league, 1/3 of the season down, Ian, and no send. Oh, don't say this. Well, we said no sendings off, and Jatta got bloody sent off, didn't he? When someone said we were the only team last season going into the playoffs that hadn't had a player sent off. So I'm not going to carry on reading that, Cooksey. That will be the kiss of death. Nigel Cameron Jones played like £1 million player last night. The best 90 minutes I've seen him in a Notts shirt. Dale Pike is marginally less impressed. Have we actually played anyone with a pulse yet? Well, they've done all right in the previous 4 games now. Marcus Darwin. Jatta does that great job defensively, we spoke about a little bit earlier in the programme, that sometimes gets missed. Not by us, Marcus, just like Shola Amiobi, good comparison, did with Notts at the back a few years ago under Kevin Nolan. Indeed, he didn't. He left and we got relegated the following season, didn't we? Never replaced him. Donny Pye, totally agree with Stell. Beto is an unsung hero for this team. Could be in contention for Player of the Year. Would rather he misses a game now than in December. Excuse me. Ian Cooksey. This league is so tight. We won last night, gone third. If we had lost, Cheltenham would have been only 7 points behind us. It's a crazy league. Derek Flowers, evening, Derek. Am I being greedy when I say we should have been 4 up at half time? Well, we got the maximum number of points we could possibly get last night, Derek. That's the way I look at these things. Evening, chaps, says Martin Blaney. Robertson has been like a breath of fresh air in midfield since his return. And that about brings us up to speed halfway through the show. Stel, Jatta. We've had various debates, haven't we? And he's gone through the mill this season. And we mentioned this earlier. Is he, as far as you're concerned, more of an all-round player? Goal scorers, you will always judge on the goals return, but it seems to me that Pato has kind of tried to instill into him. There's a lot of other work he's got to do, not just in the 18-yard box when we're attacking.
Yeah, well, again, that's sort of going back to what we spoke about previously about the fact of the role of the team is to be hardworking, everybody to give their all for the team. So if that means Alessandro having to come back and defend corners, and do that bit, then he has to do it, and then he's doing it brilliantly. So yeah, very much the game is everybody has to you know pull up a chair and do their bit for the team. Get their sleeves rolled up and work hard. And that's whether you're a striker, a winger, a midfield player, or a defender. You do it as a team. And I think, like I say, last night really epitomised that. In that, from the first half and the second half, totally different halves of football, if you like, but both excellent in their own way. The first half was as good as we've seen, and the second half, they did what needed to be doing when they weren't playing absolutely at their best. But Jatta, yeah, for a goal scorer, the game always becomes a bit easier when the ball's finding the back of the net. That's the way I always found it. His finish last night, instinctive. Yeah, I know it's only 6, 7 yards out,
Yeah.
but it's dropped to him. He's not had a second thought, and he's instinctively put it in. And some days, when it'll tend to be when you're not in form, there'll be a defender that blocks that, or it'll hit the keeper and it'll come out, and they don't go in. But when you're flying and when things are in form and you're confident, you don't think twice. The ball drops, you finish, and hits the back of the net, and it's a great place to be. And it's amazing how when the ball's going in, that your all-round game improves massively because you just got confidence. That's that unseen thing in football, and I don't know how you quantify it in life in general, but when you feel confident and you've got that self-belief, then everything becomes that bit easier. And it's great when you've got it, and it's a nightmare when you're just not there. So, we hope he continues. He's in the zone at the minute, along with one or two others as well. But, in terms of his performance, I think he's been excellent since he's come back in. Obviously, a little bit of speculation, with him missing the first 5 games, and then the will he be
Mm.
staying, will he be going near the transfer window? But I think his response since then could not have been any better, and all credit to him.
John Parr, listening to Pato is a breath of fresh air. Honest and no stats or inversion. Quality, as far as I am concerned. How many captains have we had this season, says Ian Haywood? Probably quite a few, I would think, in terms of players that have worn the captain's armband at any point during the game in the opening 15 matches. Richard Elvin talking about a blanket close finish in the table. I think is it something like 5 points between top and halfway, something like that. Michael Fletcher, here's an interesting one. We have exactly the same record as last season in that we have played 15 and got 27 points. Paul Topley, I think December will give us our level. And it will be interesting to see if we get with potential additions during the transfer window. Marcus Darwin, do you think the manager can help Grant with the attacking prowess, that little bit of something that can turn his half chances into goals? Matty Palmer. Lots of people speak about Matty, can't do without him. Well, we've done without him pretty much okay, very well last night. Now, there's a bit of an economy of information about Matty. The gist from the Brackley game was it was something minor. If it had not been a cup game, he'd have been playing. He still wasn't playing last night, and I think Martin kind of deflected it a little bit. How important is that he's available to return? Have we got enough in the tank with the way Scott Robertson is playing and fully fit at the minute? Are you and Adam able to shed any light quite where Matty Palmer is with fitness levels and availability to return?
Yeah, not really. No, we have got no further impact. I mean, we heard at Brackley that there's maybe an issue that Matty Palmer, that he'd got a little bit of fluid on his knee, and it was like precautionary, not involving him then, with a hope that obviously he was going to be available, not for the Man United game, the trophy game, but for last night. Now, whether that's the case, obviously he wasn't available. Now, Martin said afterwards, one, if it was, I think his terminology was, if it had been a World Cup final and lives depended on it, then maybe they'd have been able to get him on the pitch, and similar with Jody. But obviously it wasn't, and there's a more long-term thinking when you're in a football, in a season with 46 games in it. So I can understand why there's a precaution, but you don't want to take a risk. We've seen, we had to suffer without Matty Palmer, or Matt Palmer, for the other season, a couple of seasons ago, didn't we? When he missed the season, did his ACL. But he's not somebody who misses many games. So I think he's absolutely right. He doesn't just drop out at the drop of a hat. So I think it's absolutely the right thing to do to make sure he's right, because once he's fully right and 100%, you back him to play the remainder of the season. So if he misses 1, 2, 3 games, then he obviously needs to miss it. He's not a player that, he goes down easily and misses a team sheet and misses the selection. So no, can't shed any more light on it than that, other than it doesn't seem serious, but they are just protecting him. And for me, if he's not available on a Monday night, yes, of course, you might be available on a Saturday, but after the performance, who does he come in for? Even if you're Matt Palmer, who do you leave out of that? So I would be maybe saying to him, look, get yourself right for the Colchester game a week on Saturday. Make sure you're 100%. We might put you on the bench Saturday if you're absolutely telling us you're fully fit. But I don't think that you can change that team from last night in the middle of the park there. So yeah, there's no need to rush him back. But then again, it just goes to show how quickly a week is in football, isn't it? Because if we'd have had this conversation after the Brackley game, it was like, well, look what happens when we don't have Matt Palmer. We can't cope without him. So the game can change very quickly, and this is the nature of sort of lower league football, is that the inconsistency of performance levels. But make no bones about it that the Matt Palmer is an absolute key player for us, and a mainstay. But after last night's performance, you don't need to rush him back. Scott Robertson and Tom Iopenda were excellent, excellent in the middle of the park.
Harrogate, bottom 3 or 4, 7 on the bounce, defeats. Is this where football, I think the phrase that Martin used, it can very easily and very quickly slap you in the face, can't it?
It absolutely can have. I had a career length of being slapped in the face by it. Yeah. Then this is it. Absolutely. Us that aren't involved in the game, we can't affect the game. And we can get carried away going, well, look where they are in the table. Look at the run the form that they're on. Well, this needs to be 3 points. And it does. But the players can't think like that. The minute you think like that, let's not forget, excluding the EFL trophy, game but 1 ago, we got beat by a non-league part-time team. So we are not so entitled, arrogant to think that we can just turn up against Harrogate and think, well, it's a foregone conclusion. If the players think that, then what happened at Brackley will happen again. So you've always got to be focused. You've always got to be at it. Treat every game as important. It's only the next game that you can affect. So that's got to be the full focus. And I'm sure they will. And that's what Martin will be guarding against, because after a result and a performance like we had last night, if you then follow it up with a drab, disappointing sort of defeat on Saturday at home, then all the praise and all the goodwill and everything that's everyone's got at the minute, it dissipates very, very quickly, and the boot will be on the other foot. That is the nature of football. So you've got to keep going. You've got to, like I say, it's the same old saying, isn't it? Never too high, never too low, no matter after a defeat or after a victory.
AD Clark says, I'll be surprised if nobody comes in for Jatta in January. A proven goal scorer, works hard for the team defensively. Contract extension, which benefits Notts too. There was a clause activated in the summer which gives another year on his existing contract. And what, of course, that also does, it means he's 18 months out from ending his contract at Notts, and gives Notts some protection in terms of his transfer value. But for me, Stel, if you're offered £1 million, I ain't selling him. Not my money. Easy for me to say.
I was going to say, yeah.
But so far, it looks like it's going to be a blanket finish. No runaway team at this moment, though. I still cannot not believe that MK Dons will not be in the top 3. I just think he is so integral to maximising our chances of getting automatic. And yes, it might be a huge sum, but how do you quantify League One football value compared to League Two value? And I just think, I don't think they would sell him, but I don't think, no matter how good we think we are right now with this run of form, that we can afford to sell Alassane Jatta.
No, and I agree completely. This is what all the business side of the club will have dealt with the values of players and what they quantify as how integral Jatta is to us getting promotion.
Yeah.
They'll put a value on that promotion, and he will be a percentage of that value because it won't all hinge on him. Of course, it won't. They'll also look at factors like who they can replace, say him with, but anybody with, any asset with, if they think they can replace him at a fraction of the cost and it makes business sense, then it becomes a viable move. But I think in very simple terms, I don't think they'll sell in January. It would take again, we're back to the Macaulay Langstaff issue. We're back to the Jatta issue of probably a year or so ago, as we were. Do you sell? Do you not? If there's interest, if there's firm, solid bids, and I think there would be. I just think that the nature of what we've spoken about with Alassana is the size of him, the physicality, what he offers in both boxes. He's a goal scorer, but he's a physical presence, and that is what clubs in high divisions like. Because as you
Mm.
get up, it's more of a physical game. As maybe Macaulay Langstaff's found out, his move to Millwall hasn't gone as he would have wanted, obviously. Um, but Mako is a different sort of striker. Maybe not quite got that physical presence that a Jatta has that can maybe take him up a couple of divisions. So he's an asset for Notts for absolute certainty. And you only ever sell an asset, a prized asset, when somebody is willing to pay over your valuation of them, and you've got what you think is a suitable replacement. Without both them factors, they wouldn't sell. And I know it's not a binary thing. It's not a black and white science, but I think he'll stay. I don't think they'll be looking to sell him for anything less than, like I say, seven figures. The only bit we don't know, the only question mark or grey area in that is if there is a release clause in the contract, an
Yeah.
activation amount of
Yeah.
money that
Yes.
prompts the release clause that you can't really do too much about. But aside from that, I mean, I'm sure they will have extended the contract or sorted the contract, making sure that that figure is a figure that the club are happy with.
Yeah. But I do also think, though, Stell, and I said it's not my money, but um, there has been a narrative created with the sale of Bass, for instance. Langstaff was sold. Um, Unquestionably, Jatta is one of our best players. So no matter how much you calculate a price for a player, yeah, I think it would just send out all the wrong sorts of signals to fan base and unquestionably weaken our chances of getting promotion when again it would look we're in with a fighting chance. We're in with a fighting chance. And I think it's so dangerous to sell your best striker and we think Matty Dennis is going to get us 25 goals. It don't really work, in my experience. It don't really work like that. If you've got something that's working, hold on to it,
Yeah,
max it out. Because Alessandro, the biggest value for me that Alessandro Jatta has for Notts County is not whether it's 1 million, 1.25, 800 or whatever, is does he play an integral part in getting us promoted? Because that to me is worth more than £1 million in January.
yeah, and I agree. I absolutely agree with the fundamental. But again, the reality of the business side of things is wanting a sustainable club that we'd all love to say, well, all our good players we're going to keep and we're going to bat away
Yeah.
offers. We're also wanting the brothers and that to put money in to go and spend on better players to come in anyway in
Yeah.
other different positions. And we also want the ground to be fantastic, the pitch to be superb, and all the facilities to be improved as well. And and it doesn't work. Something has to give. It's balance in the books, isn't it? Balance in your budget. At some point, with every player, that seesaw of an offer comes in, no, it's not enough money. The sliding scale means that at some point there is a value for every single player, like it or not. And you're absolutely right. If we were just playing Championship Manager computer game, you'd just say, well, not for sale because it works. That's it. He'll guarantee his promotion. Blah 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 blah. But the real world isn't like that. So if I said to you now, X club, any club, Championship club has come in and offered £1 million for Jatta, you're saying you would turn it down point blank. Yeah.
I would, and I'd have the
in January.
conversation with Jatta that I'd say, look, we want you to get us promoted. League
Right.
One, yeah, another contract, right? If we don't go up, end of the season, you can go in the summer. If you get the £1 million, we'll sell you. But we go up, you go up, we can pay you more money in League One. You're playing League One football. Have that kind of adult conversation. Because for me,
Absolutely.
really good players, you judge them on how many promotions they get for your club, not necessarily, for me, on a resale value. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So a couple of caveats to that, and I agree. I agree with that. Absolutely. You speak with a player, of course you do. That same club comes in with 1.5 million.
Yeah.
Still saying
I'd say
no?
no. Honestly, if I did, I would say
so
no.
what's your point? What you're saying, you wouldn't sell come what may? No, there's no
In
value.
January, with Notts
Yeah.
County having a realistic chance of getting promotion, I
Right.
would in my head as an owner chairman, not that I ever will be, it would be right. Everything we do here at this football club is geared towards playing football at the highest standard that we possibly can. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're getting 10 to 12,000. Notts County League Two, sorry, not good enough. We're underperforming. We're underachieving. We need to get up this pyramid. Yeah,
Right.
Jatta is the best chance, or is an integral part, maximises our chances of going up. If he's worth 1.5 in January, he's not going to be worth 50 grand in June, is he?
No, I absolutely agree, and I've said this probably a year back for the same reason. So just a final scenario then,
Yeah.
just if I can tempt you, I'm going to tell you the club that's come in for him is Millwall, and they'll give you 1 million and Macaulay Langstaff back on loan.
Wouldn't do it.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
I think somewhere along the way here, Martin Paterson has done brilliantly well. Let's be honest. Out of 10,000 Notts fans, I don't think there would be one Notts fan out of 10,000 fans would have chosen him first choice. Don't think there would have been one. So
No.
he's come here on, and it's been a difficult one for him. Didn't start
Yep.
particularly well, Newport and that. The goalkeeper gets sold from under him. David McGoldrick's already gone. He's not, to my mind, been dealt a great set of cards, but he's grafted. Culture, principles, call it what you will. I think he's improved Jatta from a difficult position, and we don't know the full ins and outs, but I think, let's be honest, Jatta didn't look massively happy pre-season from what I could see of him. So I think he's managed to turn it round. And I think January is the time, as a club owners, you repay what Martin Paterson has done here and give him a few better cards. Give him a few
Yeah.
better.
Well, like I say, I absolutely agree with, like I say, I think Martin's done absolutely fantastically well, but I don't know if everyone would agree with that. You're saying you wouldn't sell Jatta, really, £10 million obviously is ridiculous, but I'm not being ridiculous, but I'm saying if some club comes in then and gives you do you know what, we'll give you a proven striker, and I'm saying Macaulay Langstaff and money, you still wouldn't be interested.
Okay.
I'm not sure that would get that. There's a point where everybody would teeter from no, not selling him, not selling him, not selling him. Oh, Macca coming back, money. Maybe there's a point where everybody gets interested in something. So
Okay.
there will be a point for every player, and there will be a point, whether we like it or not, there is a point where no becomes, yeah, actually,
Okay.
yeah.
Good discussion, this. And I can just imagine Martin O'Neill looking over my shoulder. Hey, listen, hang on a minute. Not your decision. Manager's decision. So the caveat to all of this is, I'm the owner, you're the owner. You sit down with the manager. Right, we got 1.5, right, for Jatta. What do you want to do? And I would go with what the manager said. In this hypothetical world that we're living, right, Martin, we got 1.5, and we can get Macaulay Langstaff as part trade. Do you want to do it or not? And if he says to me, Macy, no, we're keeping Jatta, I said, fine, we'll do that. If he says, tell you what, I'd do that, okay, we do it. Because I would give more of the decision. I would involve the head coach manager in this decision making process. I
Yeah,
suspect a lot more than the Notts model is. Like at Everton. Everton have got a transfer panel. Hey, waste of time and space. David Moyes, I promise you, will call all the shots for that, as he should do. As he should do.
yeah. But like I say, that's the scenario. It's all right.
Yeah,
Absolutely, you want that perfect synergy of the owners backing the manager 100%. But like I say, there is a business model behind all this and a belief that there is value out there in other players. So all I'm saying is, and I'm not, like I say, with the start point, this is I wouldn't sell Jatta in
yeah,
January.
yeah,
You'd need a ridiculous. What I'm saying is, you'd need a ridiculous offer to look
yeah,
to sell him. But that ridiculous offer comes in, then you have to have plans in place for you can't be caught cold, because if that ridiculous offer comes in, which includes ridiculous wages being told to his agent and
yeah,
how many riches he's going to get elsewhere, then players can have their heads turned. So you've got to be ready to get out the blocks quickly should that happen. So all I'm saying is that every player has got a value, particularly in League Two. As much as we want to do the Championship, and know he's our player, we want to keep him. And I'm not saying they will actively look to sell him, they won't, because I, like you, absolutely fully believe that the brothers and the ownership of the club is all about getting promoted, because why wouldn't it be? There's more money involved in getting promoted. That's where the rewards are. But like I say, we've seen it before. Every player does have a value. I'm not saying it's been actively sought out, but every player would have a value. And them scenarios, you wouldn't have Macca back in £1 million, but I'm assuring you that some Notts fans would. Quite a few, I
oh yeah,
reckon. And you can do a straw
yeah,
poll on here of people, and I can't see the messages, so I might be completely wrong. But you know what I mean. But everybody's opinion is different, and everybody's thing is different. And what we would do is all pie in the sky, because it's all about what the brothers do, and Joe
yeah.
Palmer and the business side, and Martin Paterson as well. Like I say, it's like I say, it's easy having conversations about it when it's
Mm.
not our £1 million, isn't it?
Yeah, summing all up, what I would dearly hope for is that come January the 31st, this year, we have a stronger group of players, more likely and capable of getting us promotion than we have on January the 1st. Because I don't think in the previous 2 years you can necessarily say that was the case. I want to kind of, I was a fan, I
Yeah,
want to see some impetus in this January window, or
yeah.
that's a
Well,
statement of intent, because there's 13 or 14 clubs right now, that think they can go up. And you and I know 3 or 4 of them will go big in that transfer market, in that window. They will, because they think,
yeah,
right, hang on, we've
yeah,
got a chance here, right? We've got an 18 game season, however many games it is left. We can get, the manager, get 2 or 3 really good uns in, we can go up,
yeah. But again, Paul, that's an easy thing to say. Everybody's
Yeah,
looking for get a couple of good uns in, but you don't know
yeah.
they're good uns when you're signing them. Now, in
Oven
January,
ready
I
ones,
I I,
oven
I
ready
agree with
spell.
exactly. I agree with you. Our Januaries haven't been great transfer windows in the last couple of years. I think the only off the top of my head, and I haven't researched, the only top one I can think of who's been decent is Scott Robertson, who's come in, who was brought in January. And we're singing his praises.
Yeah.
There've probably been others, but I just can't. He's the one that stands out at the
He
minute.
makes an
Um,
immediate impact. That's the point. Jatta is clearly a
Absolutely,
great
yeah,
signing, but he wasn't necessarily a great signing in January to strengthen our chances of getting promoted in that season. And that, I think, is
absolutely. But that
urgent.
is difficult, though. But that is
Yeah,
absolutely difficult. It's not an exact science. You can go and get a name player, but they might not perform. There is no guarantees with any of this. So I, like you, want them to make a statement or two in January, and I'm sure they will want to, but they've got to identify the players, and then players have got to come and be a success. It's such a difficult thing. It's so easy to say, let's go out and get a couple of statement players that will pretty much guarantee us promotion. Who's that? What if they get injured the next day and try? There's no guarantees, but I, like you, want the intent there, absolutely. But you also have to factor in the reality is that we've not got the biggest playing budget in this division. Other clubs have got the means and the wherewithal to go bigger than us. We're not a million miles away from the top, the top, however you would put a top 5 or 6, maybe. But there are clubs that are just going to spend more than us, or have got the funds to spend more than us. We have to accept that, and that's why we have to then go and cherry pick carefully. And it's not an exact science. It's not just as easy as saying, let's go out and get a couple that will guarantee promotion in January. It's never been an exact science like that, but that's what we want. We all want the same thing. We all absolutely want that thing to happen.
Eddie Clark, the club has proven every player has a price. It's also the philosophy to find players who improve and move higher. I'll add to that, AD, and get us promoted. That for me is the most important thing. Sign players who you think can get promoted. Richard Elvian, just before September, we were saying Jatta was worth less than 500k. Gary Pearce, I heard Langstaff was coming back. Had it not been for the director of football at the time, no idea. As in, I have no idea about that, Gary. Steve Carter, if Jatta is sold in January, the club and owners show no ambition. Promotion has to be worth more. Robert Minister sparked a bit of a debate, this one, Stars, as we might expect.
Well,
where is your bottom line dollar with the sale of Jatta, Paul? I agree with the sentiment. His value and his earning capacity would increase in League One, and we need him for this season's push. S.E. Kent, every player has his price, and a player doesn't make a team. Jurgen Halligan, Macca hasn't got the physical presence, not a like-for-like replacement. Marcus Darwin, I still have people behind me in the COP who moan about Jatta. I turn around and say, who just scored the goal or goals or got us the points today? They still moan, say we should have sold him. Derek Flowers, could Macca play in our current system formation? Steve Carter, if Jatta is sold in January, I think he sent it twice. Bradford were linked with Jatta previously, says Freddie Poke. AD Clark, think Paul's been on the meds too much tonight. Sell Traore instead, says Ian Haywood. Ian Cooksey, big if he was sold, the fee would have to be reinvested into the squad on quality, not championship reserve team players. No, I would not sell Jatta, says Freddie. Clubs are watching with interest, said Richard Elvin. I'm sure they are. Andrew Rayson, Millwall scenario would only be acceptable if Macca coming back on a permanent, as a swap was part of the deal. Loan, forget it. Permanent, okay, as long as the fee was still acceptable. Richard Terry, Stell is talking sense. We're just fans and have no control over what the owners' views are. Yes, if we could have kept Macca, McGoldrick, Bass, and even Crowley, what a team, but that's fantasy football. Bass was sold with no replacement lined up, says Jurgen. Adam Kent, top scorers with top 3 assists are hard to find. Yeah, that's stuck another $500,000 on his valuation. That's why we get it to 1.5 Stell, because it's the top 3 assist scorer as well.
I was forgetting that bit. Yeah, I was forgetting that.
Oh dear. Freddie Pope, Bass was sold because the owners thought he was not good enough. And I agree with them. It's an interesting viewpoint. He's in League One now, isn't he? Best goal in the league, counters Jurgen Halligan. Chris Gosling, Jatta is a far more complete striker than Macca to make the step up. Whatever we got for Macca, you double it for Jatta at least. Chris Gosling, I wouldn't sell Jatta at all in January. If the worst happens, then I'd go and break the bank and get Roger Linney from Carlisle. Born to score goals, that lad. Don't know
Regan Linney. I think that's auto-corrected. Yeah, Regan Linney.
Adam Kent, I agree with Paul, though. I hope to keep Jatta at least to the summer. Never going to find a replacement in January. Luke Beardsley, I'd rather us do everything to keep Jatta and go and get Rob Street ourselves, like Doncaster did. Still not playing much for Lincoln. I did notice that, actually. I thought he would have been getting regular football this season, but for whatever reason, he's still at Lincoln and not playing. Andy Easom, I suspect Richard Montague has identified his chief targets already. We should be adding more strikers, not losing them, says Luke. Jatta's been brilliant this season, says Gary Phillips. He gets better and better. I was his biggest critic after he appeared to lose interest last January. And I do think, Gary, we should give Martin Paterson a lot of credit, and his coaching staff, for getting Jatta back in the right frame of mind and at it, because he did look a tad disinterested, and there were all sorts of rumours, no smoke without fire in the summer. Obviously, you congratulate the player, but I do think Martin's done a very good job on him in getting him back in. And I think it was probably, we've mentioned it before, it was probably a big call, really, to prefer Jatta and stick with him when a lot of people were saying Matt Dennis has got to come straight back in. He scored 6 goals in 6 games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said this on the radio last night, they're good problems for managers.
Yes.
Good problems to have where you've got a player who's, I say the same about Matt Palmer, same thing. And, how highly I rate him and what a good player I think he is for us. But I don't bring him back in for Saturday. It wouldn't be a problem if he did, but I would say don't rush yourself now. You can get yourself fit for the Colchester game. We'll put you on the bench if you're right. But again, it should never be the name and the player is more important than the team. Whoever that is, and that's again that's not some sort of coded message for me saying that I want to sell Jatta in January or anything like that. It's not.
No.
I categorically don't want that. But that is the fact of the matter. And again, credit to Martin and his coaching staff that they seem to have instilled this thing that if you perform, you'll stay in the team, no matter what position you're in, no matter what your name is, no matter who you are. And I think that sets a really good tone and a really good message to all the players in the dressing room that it's you've got to perform. There's no two ways, and that is exactly how it should be. It shouldn't be about emotions. It shouldn't be about who you like, who you don't like. That's what we can do as fans. We can attach emotions to it. I like him, I rate him, and no matter what he does, I'll always have a moan about him. But if you're picking a team, you want the best team for the club, for your job, for success, for the fans, for everybody. You've got to pick the right players at the right time. Doesn't matter what the name of the player is, it's players that are performing. And as we'll speak, and gets overlooked a lot when we speak about players, form plays a big part in it. Just because somebody's a good player for 6 games, 10 games, 20 games, one season, they will have dips in form. And vice versa. Players that can be out of form can come into form. And you mentioned there about a player that isn't linked to Notts, like Rob Street. Again, he goes back to Lincoln. You think, well, if he gets some game time there, but he isn't. When you saw him at Doncaster last season, what a player. But a different club, different teammates, different fit, different form, different confidence, different time, and things can change. So this is always something in football. It's always moving. It's always evolving. Nobody hardly ever stays on a level. We talked about Jacob Bedder with his consistency. That's to be applauded. And to his credit, other players are a bit more up and down. So if Jatta goes 6 games now without a goal, you can bet this conversation will not be replayed. People will be selling him for 500,000 in 6 games' time. No problems in January. So opinions can change, form can change, but that's what's great about it, isn't it? Everything changes. We weren't saying this after Brackley either. The mood changes and everything shifts. So it's always a moving, ever-evolving game is football.
Yeah, I mean, it's something you said last year, and I think you nailed a very important point. And you said if there was kind of an improvement or weakness, whatever you wanted to call it, in the whole Notts County football department structure hierarchy from the brothers down, was that there wasn't really an inherent what would the word be?
Football experience for me.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
exactly. Yeah, an inherent professional football,
Yeah.
league football knowledge, subject knowledge, and you said that a year ago. And I think one of the things that Martin Paterson has brought is that in-depth football knowledge. And you were just making that point about if you win a game, you keep the shirt, right? Now, that's no different to 25 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. The Clough, Cyril, Wilkinson, all of those, you win a game, then, jobs are good and keep your place within reason. And we kind of had a bit of a newer model, where it was rotation, minutes in legs, there's a danger you can do this, so we won't play you, and all of that sort of thing. And I think Martin's professional football expertise has kind of repaid the club in spades in us moving, culture, call it what you will. I think Stuart Maynard only ever kept the same team something like about 3 games in about 46. Everything always changed. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I think a lot of this knowledge that Martin's brought in as a professional himself operating at this level is helping us in what he's trying to do with the culture, as opposed to there's a philosophy set by the brothers and the players that they sign. But I think very much Martin is changing the culture significantly from his predecessors as head coaches.
Yeah, like I say, I just like the fact Martin, Andy Edwards, Sam Slocum, you have now got 3 guys there who have got a wealth of Football League experience. Playing wise, there's different varying levels of experience in the coaching aspect of the game as well. But in terms of playing games, football, a league season, cup campaigns, things like that, there's plenty of experience there. I was never saying everybody should have that, but I think you benefit by having, you know, that experience. It can't not. It's like having the data side of things and going, no, that's not what we know. We're not going to use it. Thanks. We don't want that. No, you need everything and use everything at your disposal. And I think with Martin and the Cole coaching staff and what they brought in, and the brothers have appointed him, so they've got to take they
Absolutely.
take the referred credit for that as well. But I think with Martin, what he does do, and I don't know him well at all. I don't know him, really. But I think he instills, I would call it, like I say, not dissimilar to what was said 20 years ago. He's got old school values,
Yes.
winning first and foremost, which I would say a little bit old school values over the modern day sort of look at the stats, look at the possession, look at this, look at that. But I assume, given his age and given his coaching badges and that sort of thing, with Andy Edwards, with Sam Slocum, they bring a new modern coaching sort of twist to it, if you like, in terms of they know the modern ways, they know all the modern parlance and the tactics and the way it's been coached and the coaching badges. They have all that, but they have that fundamental winning value, old school value, whatever you want to call it. And that to me is the best of both worlds. Ally that to all the data that can be provided to them and the recruitment model and all that sort of thing, is you are not putting all your eggs in one basket. You've got the best of all worlds. It might not be a success, but it's giving you the best opportunity. I think that's, for me, that's the bit that I thought was missing or has been missing in previous years. We've had good men, good people, knowledgeable people in terms of coaching, but without that actual living it day to day, week to week, month to month, a season to season of a football league career, it's a little bit of a leap into the unknown. You can learn things from a book, no matter what career you're in, but I'm sure everybody in whatever profession you're in would say there is no replacement for practical experience of something. But you need the knowledge allied with the practical experience. I don't think football is any different from that. Yes, you can be successful if you've not played the game, but I do think you need to have people who you can lean on, would be that coaches or whatever, who have played the game, who can say, look, I've been here before. this is what this is going to be like. This is what that's going to be like. Otherwise, it's a leap into the unknown. And that's the only bit for me that I thought I just thought the cupboard was a little bit bare in that football sort of experience, playing wise and experience in it. And like I say, that has been addressed this year. Whether it was successful, time will tell. But I think, what we've seen so far sort of seems to ally the best of both worlds. And let's not forget, I think Andy Edwards and Sam Slocum were not sort of Martin Paterson, you know, cronies, if you like, people that he'd worked with before. This has been put together
Yeah.
by the owners, by Joe Palmer, by whoever took the decision, and it seems to be working pretty well so far. Again, we're a third of the way through the season. We've not had a cup run, so it's not all rosy, but sat in the automatic promotion places, it's not too bad either.
Very good stuff. It was an entertaining debate. Wasn't quite expecting that. A few of you have enjoyed that. We'll probably wrap up now. Thank you very much. Oh, we should also say Chloe's granddad, Trevor Scanlon, 58 years of marriage. His 58th wedding anniversary today. So congratulations to the Scanlons. 58. That's, oh dear, that's a good old stint, Trevor. Look forward to seeing you down the lane on Saturday with Chloe, as always. Thanks as always to our official partners. Forgot to mention them at the start of the show, JH Accountants and the Trent Navigation. I'll be back Friday evening. See you all down the lane on Saturday, home game against Harrogate. Thanks for all your comments, lots and lots of them this evening. Stel, thank you for lots of debate, banter, and all the rest of it tonight.
Yeah, pleasure as always. Yeah, I'll try and remember what day it is now. It feels weird. It's thrown me having a Monday night game. So yeah, everyone have a good week and hopefully see you at Meadow Lane on Saturday.
Great way to finish the show. Thank you, one and all. Look forward to catching you soon. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.
Cheers.